When I got initial pushback in Hollywood, when I was, looking for the kind of work that I was used to, and I'm not afraid of hard work. I made my show reel. I walked in to meet, producers, filmmakers. I showed them the work that I had done in India. I'm not someone who walks around with the ego. I believe in hard work, and I think only your work can speak for itself. So I used to walk in, I took meetings, I did auditions, and I got smaller roles, and I made them bigger and bigger and bigger, and slowly it took time to be able to get to this place. So I think that now that I feel like I have, my feet on solid ground, for the last 4 or 5 years, it really has been my quest to be able to create a lot more space for not just me, but people like me, actors, writers, directors, women behind the camera, in front of the camera. I have a first look deal with Amazon Prime, in which I'm producing a lot of TV and film for them, and most of them are hyper-specific stories about South Asia and our diaspora. And I feel so proud to be able to actually work with a streamer that is so interested in Indian stories, and and I signed this first look deal with them 4 years ago. It wasn't even now, but are so invested in telling culturally specific stories, and I love to be able to be at the forefront of that. I'm working with incredible writers, new writers, like I did with Purple Pebble in India when I started making regional movies. I only worked with first-time producers, first-time directors, first-time writers, and that somehow gives me a lot of joy. I never had anyone who did that for me or opened up doors for me when I joined the industry, and I want to be the shoulders for other people to jump off of, because I have got this privileged responsibility or an opportunity. It's such a great place to be in, where I'm telling you that there's this one show that Purple Pebble was presenting, and they had been, small movie, and they'd been knocking on all of these doors, and we got them in, and they're in at Prime now, actually, again, my home. But, she gave me a hug, this film, and you guys will hear about it, so I don't want to talk about it right now, but she gave me a hug, and she said, to be able to just know that I have someone I can call and say, hey, I'm from your part of the world, can you connect me to someone, can you show me the way in a place where, you don't know anybody? Like, I did not have that. So to be able to be that conduit for someone really gives me so much satisfaction. I think fame is a byproduct of my job. It's not what I was seeking when I started working. I was not like, oh, I want to do this movie and be famous. No, I wanted to win awards. I wanted people to like my work. I wanted to be taken seriously as an artist. I feel like I'm a very creative person. So they both kind of become one. You have to protect that by protecting yourself. So when I go onto set, I try not to play myself ever. I don't think I've ever played me. Like, you all may know me because you know me as Priyanka, and you've known, my interviews or conversations. But I don't think I'm similar to any of the characters I've ever played, because that's been a very deliberate decision, especially for, like, Nadia. Nadia has no sense of humor. She never smiles, and I'm always laughing. I'm goofy, I'm funny. She's like really serious, and she keeps the world's burden on her shoulders, and she's really tough. And I cry in 1 second, and I'll tell anyone any secret. And I'm very open with my inner circle, and that keeps me sane. It keeps me rooted. It keeps my sense of self. But I think the same thing I do with my characters is I really protect them. So I can be myself with my people in my home, but when I go to set, I don't feel the need to be me at all. I came to terms with the byproduct of fame very early in my career. When I first joined the industry, I quickly realized that women specifically, but generally actors or talent in the industry, people like to write about everything else but their achievements. Media likes to write about how they fell on a stage, how they tripped up on a word, or anything and especially with women, at that time, we were mostly known by who's her boyfriend, who is she seeing, and so you had no identity. And that happened to me right at the beginning of my career. So I took a very decisive decision to keep my private life very private. I was ferociously private about it. I've never ever spoken about it. And it's something that I maintain even now, because I'm a public figure. which means most of my life is for consumption. You can talk about me, I can't stop you. You can break bread with your grandparents and say, अच्छा उसने तो ये पहना था या उसने तो ये किया था, उसका तो ये हुआ था, मैं तो नहीं रोक सकती. I can't come into your houses and do that. So I have to make peace with the fact that that's going to happen. And I did that very early. And I started protecting myself by creating a really tight circle of people that I trust. My team, my family, my friends. And that's like, I can count 20 people in my life that have been consistent for years. And I recommend that to all young people. We live in the world of social media, which is kind of like being famous anyway. It's kind of the same thing. You are always looking for validation on the internet. We're all looking at comments. We're all looking at what did someone say about my picture. We're, fixing it. We're trying to find the best angle. And on social media, including me, we all put out the best versions of ourselves, right? I don't have that luxury as a public person. You can, literally lip read and says that I said something and that'll become an article, and I have not said that at all. So I made peace with that very long time ago when I wrap work, 7 o'clock where I'm done with my day, and I need to sit with my family and my friends and have time for myself to enrich my soul. I didn't do that in my 20s, and I burnt myself on both sides. I went through a really, really dark phase where I was working too much. I didn't know how to emotionally feel. I was dealing with a lot of loss and grief and changes, and I just had to step back and take time out and prioritize what was important. And I'm very clear about my priorities today, and I'm the most content and happy I've ever been. Conversation is very important. I think we get caught up in pointing fingers, we get caught up in blame games, and cancel culture is so prevalent in our lives right now that people think that's the solution to everything, and I completely disagree. I think it is never one or two persons' faults. I think it is a society and it's a community that perpetuates that, and I think we need to start thinking about how we create opportunities or create a positive workspace, how we make space for others. I've worked with the most amazing filmmakers in the industry, but it's certain cliques that always do that. And I think the conversation around creating more space for people is very important in every job, and to create a good working environment, a positive working environment with transparency, with respect. And I think respect cannot be demanded, it has to be commanded. And I think when you walk into a room, you have to walk in with a sense of self. And that's very hard when you're young and when you're new and you're scared. It's really difficult to do, but I always encourage young people, especially young girls, and young people in general, in the world of information today, where information is coming at you left, right, and center, whether it's misinformation, fake information, correct information or not, you're getting all kinds of information. You have to really take time from your spirit and in your heart to see what actually affects you. What really moves you? What you care about? What is important to you? What are your priorities? And I think the noise just kind of goes away. And when the noise kind of goes away, you find that self-confidence. And that's what I tried to do. Of course, was intimidated. Of course, I was, weak in the knees and terrified. And, but what I did was, I tried to cut the noise out, and I took my next step, and I took my next step. And I didn't think about the large picture. I didn't think about where I was going. But I knew if I take one step and I make it excellent, and I take next step and I make it excellent, hopefully my journey will be excellent. And here we are now.